What's up, guys? Welcome back. Creighton here from logiclounge.com. We're on our descent down into London's Heathrow. We are descending in our 747, which, if you don't remember from our first video, we took off from Toronto with, and now we're on descent into London. So we'll jump into the cockpit here. I'll explain our approach procedure, as well as we'll do some continuing of the approach on the way down. We're just passing through 22,000 feet right now. I have us going down to, I believe, 6,000 feet as our initial, and we'll continue to descend from there onto the approach. So we'll set up some more things as we get down here. First up, of course, we're going to set up our FMC. I already have the arrival put in here. What we are on is we're on the Occam 2 Foxtrot arrival, which puts us to the south of London. And then on that arrival, we have runway on the ILS of runway 27 right. So it'll be a nice downwind left-hand turn to final, and we'll probably do a manual approach once we get visual of the runway. Some other things we have to add in here is our approach speeds. So I've done the calculations already for this weight, and 30 degrees of flaps at 143 knots is going to be our V approach speed, as well as our flaps on the descent as well. So moving on from here, I'll kind of show you guys what it will look like on the approach. So pretend this pink line right here is our approach. So we'll come down, we'll do a downwind turn, and this downwind turn will lead off into our turn to base, and then our turn to final right on to the runway of 27 right. So it's a nice clean approach. We are on VATSIM's ATC network, but nobody is on right now, so it'll probably be just us vectoring ourselves around onto this approach. As always, I've left the flight plan, as well as I will be putting up any relevant charts that we're using in the page, as well as in the description down below. So be sure to check those out as well for these flights, because I know people love a little bit of interactivity as we go through this flight. So you can follow along my flight plan here. So we're about, I want to say, 10 minutes from touchdown, maybe 15 minutes from touchdown. It's definitely a lot easier process to approach than to take off, as you're pretty much gliding down instead of trying to power out. So our engines are pretty much at idle right now. You can see our thrusters, call them thrusters, our engine levers are all the way down to idle. That means that we're just kind of gliding. We're just a gigantic glider all the way down. While I was away and finishing up this flight, I actually figured out, I hope, what our problem was for GSX, which does all the ground services. So we'll try to use it when I approach into London and we're picking out a spot to come in at. I've tried my best to figure that out. So we'll see how fun that is right now. We're approaching the airport right now. We're about, I want to say about 40 to 50 miles out, probably closer to 50 miles out. But in track miles, that's somewhere around 60 miles, as we have to do a downwind and then a turn to final. But you can see that we're starting to get closer here on this line, which is cool. And we might actually be able to see the airport through the clouds somewhere. It's kind of like right over here somewhere, I think. So it's still a little bit hidden from the clouds as we come down here. It's a cloudy day, or actually cloudy morning here in London. It's about 5:30 in the morning. It's a pretty early start for people, especially this is a great overnight flight for business travelers. That's why I assume they have the 747 on this, because the 747 has more business class seats than a 777, so they're probably wanting to fit in more business travelers from Canada to London. That reminds me of another flight that we should do as well. There's another flight that I've really wanted to do, which is London City to New York. That is a fun flight, and I want to do that as a flight and kind of show that off to you guys. And hopefully I'll be able to record that and show that off very soon. I think that'll probably be one of the next flights that we do. I've been trying to think of different airlines and different flights that we could do on our way around the U.S. So that will be a fun flight to do as we continue on. But for right now, we're just chilling on our way down. It's going to be a quiet approach since there's not a lot of traffic in the area, as well as no ATC on. Hopefully an ATC might pop on and give us vectors, but for right now, it will just be us in the cockpit alone, chatting it up and getting ready for the approach. So we're coming down through 12,000 feet right now, and our way down to, I think, we want to get ourselves to a final altitude of around 3,000 feet. Yeah, 2,500, 3,000 feet. So we'll continue this on down to about 3,000. We'll set that as our initial height to kind of intercept the ILS. So we'll be doing an ILS approach today, but we'll be switching over to a visual as soon as we get established. So it'll be a nice, easy approach. We'll see how my approach skills are today. Goes to clouds right now as we come in on this day. You can see there's tons of clouds out. I have yet to upgrade to Active Sky 2016. That will probably be my next flight sim purchase. That or the PMDG 747. So that will be up soon, hopefully. We'll see though. We can probably set auto brakes as well. So we'll do an auto brake of, let's say 3 today. That seems like a good number to pick up. So right now we're on the downwind approach for London's Heathrow Airport. From this downwind, we'll do a turn to final, which is actually a pretty tight turn. So this will be a fun little approach for us to do on our way down. So the airport's like right here somewhere. We can almost see it through the clouds, I bet. But it's right in here. Actually, I think it's loading it in. That's why we're kind of frozen. Yep, there we go. It's probably was loading the airport files in right now. So we're getting closer on our way down. We're coming through 10,000 feet. So coming through 10,000 feet, we'll turn our lights on so that we're visible to other people. So that includes our landing lights, that includes our logo light, all of our recognition lights that we did not have on throughout the entirety of the flight, but that we do need now here onto the approach, because the idea is that we are as visual as possible to other aircraft in the area so they don't hit us, because we don't want to get hit by any other aircraft, do we? Of course not. So continuing on our way down from here, we are getting super, super close, which is awesome. So we're just kind of on some bumps here. And we'll start putting flaps out early, too, to help us slow down, because we're going to need to put out a lot of flaps. We need to give them time to come out, as well as give us a nice approach down onto the runway at a nice, slow, safe speed. If this was real life, this would be a very congested airspace, an airspace where I wouldn't actually be able to talk to you like this, because the airspace is so congested and busy. You have to pretty much keep a quiet cockpit for the entire flight as we come down here. So no precipitation is actually reported for us today. Actually, the runway is going to be pretty dry. So I'm going to turn off the weather radar and actually turn it over to terrain. So we'll be able to see the terrain around us, which I think will be a little bit more helpful as we're coming down into land. And usually that's selected via the pilot and the co-pilot. So the pilot might choose the weather radar, so the co-pilot might do the terrain radar. And if the pilot does the terrain radar, then they'll do the weather radar. So always either the pilot or the co-pilot is looking at one or the other, which is something that is good to do, of course. So I'm going to switch over my chart here to ILS 27 right. That is the approach that we're doing today. So ILS 27 right. Just taking a look at my charts now. Be a nice, easy approach up into London. So right now, we're almost even with the airport. There's the airport right there. I finally have a view of it. The airport's right here as we cross over the countryside. And we'll have a short turn out and then a turn in. So a lot of maneuvering for this approach. So I think over Occam, which is the point right here, I'll kind of blow this up a little bit. Occam right here, or OCK, that is where I'll probably put our first degree of flaps to get us to slow down a little bit, to give us a little bit more lift and allow the aircraft to maneuver just a bit more safely as we get set up. And it gets us started early with dropping the flaps so that I have enough time to drop them, slow down, drop them some more, and slow down. It's probably not helping that we have a 20-knot tailwind, but that will turn into a headwind as we turn into final, because the pilots always want to land in a headwind. Landing in a headwind means that there's more air moving over your wings. That means more lift and the more available lift to you. If something bad was to happen, let's say you had to go around, you have that tiny bit more lift that could potentially save your life if you have to go into an emergency situation like that. So just a little bit of fun fact for you as we continue on down here. So I'm going to reset our altimeters to the current altimeter set, which is 3005, and it's not taking it just yet. You can see it's in a yellow box. That thinks it's our transition altitude is 6,000 feet, which it is. Standard transition altitude in the UK is 6,000 feet, but as soon as it's assigned to you, then you change over to it. So because we are now potentially been given it, that is when it changes over. So just another fun fact there for you guys. So now that we're turning over Occam, we will drop to flaps 1. That puts out the front flaps, which is called the leading edge. The leading edge flaps will come out right now. That will give us a little bit more lift, and we'll continue putting these out in increments. So at this Occam 7 DME, so that's 7 miles away from Occam, which is right here, so 7 miles between here, we'll put down the next flaps, and I'll kind of put them down incrementally, and hopefully we'll be at full flaps by about our final turn, because that's not a lot of time between our final turn and our actual touchdown point. So I want to make sure that we're slowed down enough. I want to make sure that we're losing altitude at the correct speed so that we have a nice, even touchdown. Of course, you always think about your passengers. You want a nice, smooth touchdown for the passengers so they're not being jolted around, their cargo luggage isn't being thrown around, and you're just giving them a nice, smooth experience. And I think that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants a nice, smooth landing. They want a nice smooth flight from their pilots, so that's something that we're going to try to give them today. As we continue on down here, I'm going to now put out our next degree of flaps, which will be flaps 5. Flaps 5 will bring us down even more, as we'll start to lose speed as well. So I'm going to actually manual flight change us, so I'm going to now control our vertical speed automatically, and so I'm just going to get us down a little bit further. I want to be at about 2,500, so that's what I'm going to change out here now, is change out our altitude to 2,500 feet, just like that. So now the plane will keep us at a nice approach speed as we continue our way down. So I want to make sure that the aircraft is not going too fast. The aircraft going too fast can be dangerous, especially with flaps down, because you have the potentiality of your flaps ripping off if you aren't going, or if you're going too fast, if you're going too fast, you could actually rip your flaps off if they're trying to produce lift, but the pressure against the flaps is too high. It'll just rip those things clean off. So that's something that we don't want to do. So now I'm going to set up for a 170 knot approach speed. And I'm going to drop another degree of flap. So 10 degrees now. And once we come out of this turn, I will put down the landing gear. So that adds a little bit more drag to the aircraft, a little bit more wind resistance. It'll help us slow down just a tiny bit faster as we are turning to final. So you can see the City of London over here as we're coming for the turn to final. So now we're at what's on called the base leg. This base leg is the leg right before final. It's kind of that sideways leg as we come out here. So now we're on base. We are too high. So I can see the diamond here. We're over the diamond, so that means we're too high. So I'm going to adjust our vertical speed here to kind of get us lined up with that diamond. And as I do that, we're going to gear down. And what I'm kind of shooting for now is to get us at a nice slow approach speed. Yes, I know our speed brakes are extended, which is a good thing. I was trying to keep us slow as I increased our rate of descent. I wanted to make sure that we weren't speeding up in the descent. That would have been a very bad thing. So I had our speed brakes up, which is something that is usually done to control your speed on the way down. So that was a normal reaction. I'm actually going to arm up the speed brakes, so as soon as we touch down, those speed brakes are going to release, and we will go down. So I'll now shallow out our rate of descent a little bit. And I will now activate the localizer. The localizer kind of gives us a shot at the runway as I'll put down our next degree of flaps. And I'll put out our final degree of flaps as well, since we're slow enough for that. So coming out of this turn, we should see the final on the airport, which we should. So there's the airport right there. There's the runway right about there. We're landing on the right-hand side runway. I think I want an approach speed of 145 knots. Yeah, I want about 145 knots. We'll shallow out our descent a little bit more as we slow down. So we're 2,500 feet above the ground, which is a good approach at this length of time. We're on that approach very well. And we should start our descent now. As soon as the glide slope, you'll see the glide slope is right here. We'll catch it once it enters right there. So we're waiting for the glide slope to catch itself, which it should here in about 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now it's caught itself. And on our way down here, I will take over manually. At about 2,000 feet, I want us to get stabilized on the approach as we come in, and then I will take over. So this kind of wraps up our journey today, which was around 6 hours, a little bit over 6 hours was this entire trip. So it was a fun trip, of course. We just crossed the Atlantic. We did that step climb that I talked about in our previous video as we came to cross the Atlantic. So now that we're this far out, I'm going to go ahead and there we go. Now we're disconnected. And I am now controlling this aircraft on its descent. So it might be a little quiet from me as I control myself on the descent. This is always a very tense moment in any pilot's landing is the approach. The approach is what a lot of people will say is the most tense, as you need to land on just a small strip of asphalt in the middle of a city. You can see if I miss this, I could be running into houses, I could be running into the terminal, and that's not something that we want to happen. It would put a damper on everybody's day. So it's definitely something that needs to be very precise on, and that's why we have like ILS. It gives you instruments that helps you out here. So we're kind of high, which is fine. I don't mind if we're too high, but I do want to get down in a timely manner. We'll actually roll out almost all the way to the end of the runway because we have to park at Terminal 5. So we'll do that. Almost perfectly on the glide slope now. So to our left, that's coming up right now, these big buildings off to the left, that's actually the maintenance hangar for British Airways. So that's where British Airways fixes a lot of their aircraft. There's a car park right down here. Ooh, there's actually aircraft waiting for us. That's nice. Look at that. Now we'll go idle as we touch down right about now. There we go. And our brakes are coming on, as well as our speed brakes as well. And past 70 knots. And we should be able, I think we'll make the second left-hand turn out of here. So we'll make, I think I can pick a parking spot as well. Let's see if I can do that on the run. So gate, we want like a 500 gate. $500, 533. We'll try to make this turn, which will just not make it. Should have been on the brakes a little bit more, but I think we recovered. Look at that. We recovered nicely. So on our way out here, what we'll do is I'll put up our flaps. And I will taxi forward so that those aircraft that are waiting to take off can get taken off. I've started our APU, which will provide power for us here in a little bit. We're waiting for the follow me car. I don't know where the follow me car is. It's somewhere around here. Alright, let's try to see. Oh, I hear it. It's somewhere. Oh, there it is. Follow me. Follow me aborted. No. Alright, we'll just pick out a spot on our own. Who needs a follow me car anyways? Oh, I think I see where the spawn is actually supposed to be. So maybe we'll get to it.
Good morning. In sequence line up 18 left at Echo 6. In sequence line up 18 left at Echo 6, this is 7 turning.
Come on. Come on. There we go. Need some power to get this thing moving. About ready to take off here. This isn't the most perfect aircraft, I will admit, but it does get the job done. Can't wait for the PMDG 74. It will be much, much better. So, did I choose 533? I did. So that should be this one. Right here. This is our parking stall. So we will come in to park. Oh, the marshaller is actually there. Look at that. Interesting.
Swiss 77 Echo, wind is 270 degrees, 15, get 22, 1 left, clear for takeoff. 1 left, clear takeoff, 7 Echo, bye. Bye.
Not the very best of parkers here, so we'll see how well this works. Or... Close enough. Alright, so our APU should be on, so we're going to switch to APU generators. And now, we can cut our engines. And from here as well, while engines are cut, we can also turn off our packs to only be the middle pack. That's all we need right now. And we'll kind of keep everything the way it is. We'll make sure our landing lights are off, as well as our turn-offs, our taxi, beacon nav stays on, strobe, wing turns off, logo stays on. Okie dokie. Look at this, guys. We made it. We made it, we made it, we made it. Now, cross your fingers that when I open this up and request deboarding. Hey, it worked. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, here you guys go. Thank you guys so much for watching this wonderful video. I thank you guys to leave your comments in the comments section down below on what you thought of this, as well as if you'd like to see any other videos for me, especially if you have any suggestions for me, leave them in the comments section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in our next video.